usually before you go fishing, you have to make some kind of preparation. You want to do some preparation so you don't just get up one day and go fishing. You kind of have to know what you're doing beforehand. You don't go to the sea or the river with your two empty hands. You're going to make some preparation. So one of the things you probably decide is what kind of fish you want to catch, because that'll help to determine where you are going fishing and perhaps the kind of equipment you need to take with you on your fishing expedition. When you know what kind of fish you want to catch, then you decide where you want to go to fish, where you need to go, because you know that there are some places where you get some kinds of fish and other places. You want big fish, you're going to have to go deep where you get the big fish. You're okay with medium-sized fish, maybe not so deep. And if you want the really tiny ones, you can stay by the shore. So you identify where you want to fish. And thirdly, you will identify and collect the things, the equipment that you need that will help you to be successful on your fishing expedition. That is, you want to catch fish, so you're going to make sure you have the things that will help you to catch the fish. So you're going to get your line, your bait, your hooks, your bag for carrying your equipment, and also maybe to put the fish in and so on. So that's the kind of preparation you'll do. Then, having done the preparation, you're then going to go out on the fishing expedition. And I think there are two main things that would be important in going fishing. Number one is patience. I've seen people with lines and they sit there for hours waiting for the fish to bite. And you have to be very patient. And even when the fish bites, you don't just pull it in. You've got to be patient, give the fish a little chance to swim away like it's getting away, and gradually get used to the hook and things like that. I don't know a whole lot about line fishing, but basically that's what it is. But you have to be patient. It may take some time before the fish come there into the area where you want to catch them. But as I said, patience is the key. And the other thing is the strategy. What strategy you use to catch the type of fish that you want to catch. So no matter what kind of fish you're trying to catch, you have to know what is the best strategy to use to catch those fish. That should give us a clue into where we're going.
Thanks for that, Don. I had a certain expectation when I asked you what going fishing has to do with our seminar, and it didn't quite get fulfilled. So I think a bit more clarification may be needed. So you've given us some fishing tips, but how do the fishing tips fit into our Families for Life seminar tonight?
Yeah, and I figured that giving you these tips would kind of make us begin to think of what we're talking about, because this is Families for Life. And going fishing should evoke some kind of thoughts in us. So really, to get right on to it, we're talking tonight primarily to single people who want some advice on how to find a life partner. We want to identify some ways, some approaches to make, and strategies to use to help these people, because there are a lot of people in the world today who want to have a partner, and it doesn't seem to be working for them. And it's not just young people. People are getting older and not finding a life partner for various reasons. So we want to see tonight if we can help these people learn how to fish.
Very good, and not that it needs correcting, but not only for young single people or older single people, but for those of us that might be in a position to help those with advice or whatever. So there'll be some things for us to learn as well that we can share with others. So it's really for everybody here. I like that. So let's see how you align those fishing tips with finding a partner. So what's the first step?
In the analogy about fishing, we said the first stage is preparation. And I think this is something that most people don't do. They don't really prepare and plan how they're going to go fishing. Um, but but I think it's very important that anybody who wants to find a life partner does some preparation. You don't just go out there dry and start hunting around and trying to find somebody. It's not going to work very well. As in the fishing, we talked about 3 steps in the preparation phase. There can be more. I'm just offering 3 steps here. And the first thing is to decide what kind of fish you want to catch. In other words, what kind of woman would I like to be my wife? Or what kind of man would this woman like to be her husband? You should think about it. You don't just go out there and think, oh, I need a man or I need a woman. You think of who would make you a good partner in life. So you decide what kind of fish you want to catch. And it's important that you identify as many specific criteria as you can about what this person should be like. And I would suggest that you write them down. Write them down. Because this will help you to decide where you're going to find this kind of person. So when you identify the kind of person who would make you a good husband or a good wife, then you know where to find such a person. Tall, dark, handsome. Sorry, I don't fit that one. Then I would suggest that you organize your list into categories by type of characteristic and also in terms of priority. So you think about those that absolutely the man I want or the woman I want has to have these things. And you put that as it's unequivocal. I'm not going to take anybody who doesn't have this. So that's at the top of your list, and you know that this is the kind of person that goes. And then you go down the line, there may be some traits that would be nice to have, but they won't be a deal breaker. So you come down the line with your ranking of different things that you want. But you have your list there. And the reason for I suggest writing it down, because when you write things down, it becomes more firmly entrenched in your mind. Many times we get out there and we meet people and emotions take over and we don't even bother to look at things. But when you have that before you, and something, when I said before you, in your mind, because you're not going to be walking around with your list and having a checklist if she matches this or so you know the kind of person you want. And on that note, you can decide where this kind of person is likely to be found. And so you identify where you're going to find a person. Will this person be in a church, if you want a church person? Will this person be at a dance, at a party, in a club, at the gym? Where are the places where you're likely to meet these kinds of people? Because you don't know who you want yet, but you want people that match certain criteria. And so you know where these people are likely to be. So that's where you're going to go fishing. If you want a good Christian woman, of course you're going to go where people worship. You're going to probably go to church. You're going to find somebody. You're more likely to find a Christian woman in a church, and so on. Or if you want a dancing queen, then you know where to go for that. You go to the parties and you'll find your dancing queen, whatever it is. But now you are making your preparation. You're not fishing yet, but you know where you're going to go. Then you have to identify and collect the equipment that will make you successful, just as in the fishing we talked about. And what are some of these things? Well, do you have the right kind of bait? In other words, do you have something that will make this person attractive to you? So you go to a church, but you don't love the word of God and you just want a church girl. Then you won't be attractive to the church girl, because she's going to pick up very quickly that you're not interested in things of God. So find out what things will attract this kind of person and see if you have them. And if you don't have some, and you think it's okay, it's very important to find this kind of a person, then you work on making sure you get the right equipment. If you're not a spiritual leader, most church girls want men who are able to be their spiritual leaders, not somebody who just comes to church and warms the bench and listens every week and gets up and goes home. Most church girls want to know that their leader, their husband, reads his Bible, studies, can participate actively in discussions at church. He doesn't necessarily have to be the pastor who preaches and so on, but you're not going to be a little uncommitted person at church. And so you make sure you have the equipment. And it's possible you may need to change some things about yourself. Are you a pleasant and happy person? Happy people attract other people. Sad or morose people drive others away from them. So it's one of the first things you should think about is being happy, making yourself happy, making yourself pleasant to be around. No matter what kinds of trials you're going through, no matter what kind of trials you meet on a day-to-day basis, you can choose how to respond to these trials, to these difficulties. And so you can choose to be happy, even with the trials. Just look at the bright side of things, regardless of what it is. Be optimistic. Then you might need to form some new habits. Maybe the way you dress, if you're a woman, even a man. I don't think most decent, I shouldn't use that word, a lot of women, well, at least church women, don't want men with their pants hanging down off their waist, like so many these young men nowadays do. So if that's the way you're dressing as a man and you want a decent church girl, you might need to change your wardrobe. Then sometimes you have to adjust the way you speak. There could be several things that you may need to change. If the changes are going to be too hard for you, then maybe that's not the kind of person you should be looking for. Maybe you don't have the right equipment for that kind of a girl. So you might need to go fishing elsewhere, right? You might need a different kind of a partner. But those are the three main steps for preparation to go fishing.
Thank you, Don. Although I think you're a little bit hard on yourself earlier on, tall, dark and handsome, I think the old saying, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Anyway, look, I am scratching my head a little bit because what you've just shared seems like a lot of preparation. And I don't think most people, would even go through all of that, even though it does make sense. However, if that's just the preparation, what's the next step?
Yeah, it's good to say that, Wayne, because I think people take this pursuit, this courtship leading up to marriage far too lightly. If there's a right person, we'll run into each other one day and we'll fall in love and get married and live happily ever after. It doesn't work like that 99.9% of the time. And if we don't plan for it and make careful preparation, well, we have 50% of marriages failing anyway. And I think it's because much preparation is not done. So I think it's very important that the preparation is done before you even start to decide who you want to court. And I think more people need to think about this and start taking this approach. But if you're adequately prepared, it's time to go fishing. And as we pointed out earlier, there are 2 main requirements for finding that Mr. Right or Mrs. Right. And these are, 1, patience, and the other is strategy. Having patience and using the right strategy. So where patience is concerned, we have to recognize that you can't be desperate. Yes, maybe you've been waiting a long time. Maybe you badly want a partner. Maybe you're burning. But don't be so desperate that you just grab the first breathing body that comes along and smiles at you. Too many people are too quick and anxious to just get together with somebody without doing any kind of assessment and say, oh, I'm your girl or I'm your guy, and we're going to live happily ever after. And then in a short while, they find that this is not really working out. And maybe two more broken hearts, So take it easy, be patient, assess. If you're fishing in the right place, you will begin to see the kind of fish that you want. And you may see several of them. It doesn't mean that they're all the same. And so you have to do a little patient filtering and assessing. And even if you're lucky and the right one comes along immediately, you shouldn't appear to be too desperate. You shouldn't just come along and grab you like the cavemen who grab this woman by her hair and drags her off to the cave. You belong to me now. No, you can't do that. You have to take your time and get to know the person. When you act too desperate, when you just run in and grab, they swim away faster than they came. So we can't rush each other. And I'm talking about both males and females. You can't rush each other. We talk, find out more about the likes and dislikes, and remember to look for those flags, the red flags, yellow flags, and green flags. Look for them as you go, because all that glitters is not gold. And let's remember that you can't judge a book by the cover. So those are things to do. But the strategy now, so that's patience. Patience is important. But what's perhaps more important is the strategy that you use. Now, in fishing, you decide, if you're catching certain types of fish, you use a different type of strategy. So depending on the type of fish that you're catching, you're going to have to use your strategy. I'm going to name a few things here. And one of them, the first one I would say is, okay, so you go to the right place, you're fishing where you're likely to see the kind of fish that you want to catch. Well, get off your phone and get off your tablet and put that book aside that you're reading. When you're fishing, it's not the time to be paying attention to other things. So you might be in the right place at the right time physically, but you're not there mentally. Wherever you are, you must be present. Look around the room, look around to see who is perhaps looking at you, and make a little eye contact. Somebody looks at you, you hold their eyes for a little while, maybe 3 seconds or so, and that cute stranger, you give a little smile. And usually, if you're a female and you look at that man for a little while and give a little smile, not trying to seduce him, not a seductive smile, just a polite smile, it's sort of an invitation that he can talk to you. He can come over and talk to you. So you have to be off these things. You have to make your eyes available, make your space available. So get off the phone, get off the tablet, get out of that book or whatever it is that you're doing. Stop crocheting or anything that's distracting you. People don't want to invade your space. If they see you into something, they don't want to get into that space. They want to know that there is space for them to come. And so you have to do that. Now, I'm going to go further because, nowadays we're in a modern age and so many people have cars, and everybody who gets qualified in life, one of the first things they want to do is to buy a car because you need to get from place to place. But I tell you something, that it's convenient, it's good, nothing's wrong with that. But you're not going to meet anybody new in your car. When you're in your car, driving around from home to work, from home to church, or wherever you go, you're not going to meet anybody new in that car. Anybody else who's going to come in there, you'll have to get them in there. So sometimes it might be important, and again, it depends on where you're fishing and what kind of fish you're trying to catch. But sometimes it might be important for you to walk or take the bus or take a taxi or something. Get out into the spaces where you can meet people, So there's nothing wrong with that. Back in the old days when hardly anybody had cars. Everybody took buses, everybody walked, and so on. You could meet people much easier. Now the meetings are taking place on social media, and what you see is not what you get. So there are these dating sites. People jump on dating sites, and of course, she's going to put up all the best about herself, and he's going to put up all the best about himself. And you think you meet somebody. What you've met is a profile on the computer or on your phone. You don't really meet the person. And then many times, if it gets that far, you find that you eventually get to meet the person, and things may change dramatically. I don't think you should look for a partner that kind of way. Not that I'm ruling it out totally, but that's not the best way. You try to meet real people in real places and present yourself. So take the bus sometimes, walk sometimes. You might be surprised to find that some of the nicest and most eligible persons are often on the bus. And who knows when he or she may be in the seat next to you on the bus, or if you're a man and you're sitting, she might be standing there waiting for you to offer her a seat. And then she says, "Oh, that's a gentleman." And, she smiles nicely and accepts it. And you're standing there, you get a chance to talk to her a little bit, These little kinds of things, you look for opportunities. Don't lock yourself away from people if you want a partner. And walking, I know a lot of people do early morning walks for exercise and so on, but I'm talking about sometimes walking to the store, sometimes you're walking down the road and there's somebody coming towards you and you're just wowed by the person's appearance, and you just look at them and your eyes may meet and you hold it for a second or two and smile with the person. And maybe she'll smile back at you. And you might just accidentally step in her way, that awkward moment when you're both stepping the same way. And that's an opportunity, So these are some of the things. Now, one thing I would say in looking for a partner, don't seek romance. Seek partnership. Romance is a passing thing. Romance is for perhaps dates. And it's fun to have. And even when you have your partner, of course, you have romance in your marriage, you have romance in your relationship, but you don't start out looking for romance. You start out looking for a partner, if that's what you want. If all you want is some romance and some fun and nice feelings and a little electricity passing through your hands and your heart fluttering and so on, if that's all you want, then okay. But I think when you want a real life partner, you've got to go beyond that. So don't look for somebody who sweeps you off your feet, because many times that kind of a person is a kind of a control freak, and you won't like what happens later on. Look for somebody who likes give and take, who seeks your opinion and considers it, who cares about what you want too. We've gone through this already. So be careful as you're seeking a partner. Then, this sounds funny, but it's very important that you become, and it ties into what I said earlier, you should become an optimist. I'd say a psychotic optimist. That means you believe you're fishing, okay? You're fishing, you're looking for a life partner. You believe that you're going to find that love at any cost. Love is meant for you and it will come to you, so you just do not give up until you find it. When you become that kind of a psychotic optimist, when you adopt that kind of mindset, it'll make it more fun for you, for one thing, because nothing can get you down. You're convinced true love is really there for you. And if one person doesn't turn out right for you, you don't feel like you're a failure. You don't feel like, oh, I give up because I can't find the right woman. I can't find the right man. You probably just gained another friend. And so you respect each other's rights and choices to move on while still being a friend. You don't break up a relationship and become enemies. If you have to break up a relationship, respect that. That's okay. And I would recommend keeping those friendships. You never know the value of those friendships later in life. But you keep on meeting people and dating if you have to until you find one with whom you can be exclusive, somebody who is willing to be exclusively yours. And remember, dating means casually getting to know somebody, not sleeping with someone. A lot of people interpret dating to mean that you meet this person and you go sleep with them and see if you can live together happily ever after. 99% of the time, it doesn't work. It may work 1%. But dating is not sleeping with somebody. Do not have sex until you're in a committed, exclusive relationship, meaning that you're married to the person. So that's my advice.
Well, you said a lot, Don. I think that's an understatement. That's very comprehensive indeed. So much so that, look, I think it'd be a good time to get some comments from the members of our audience on this. And so I'd like to ask them some questions. And of course, you can chime in. But before we do that, and you've hinted at this a little bit along the way, it seems like we've been talking about mostly men going fishing. And you've hinted a little bit that it does work the other way too. But let me ask you directly, is it okay for girls to go fishing also? And is there a difference in the way boys and girls fish?
You know, I know this is a kind of a touchy topic, and there may be differing views on it. My view right now is that it's quite okay for a woman to go fishing. I think if a woman sees somebody or needs a partner and there's nobody fishing around her, then it's okay for her to go fishing. So a lot of what we talked about there would apply. You go to the places where you get those fish. You take some of the steps. You make sure you take your equipment with you for fishing and all of that. But I think a woman has to still be a woman. A woman doesn't become a man that you're now taking over the aggressive pursuit of a man the way a man would pursue a woman. But you make it known in subtle ways that I kind of like you. Just like that, you smile at you hold his eyes for a minute or two, you smile at him to let him know I find you pleasant. And hopefully that man will take the invitation and come. So I would say that men and women fish differently, and it would be nice to hear some of the women on here giving their views of how they might do it or think of doing it, and also from some of the men, what kind of approach they would like to see a woman take if she's interested in them. So I won't say a whole lot more. I'm just saying I think it's okay for a woman if you need a partner in life and none is coming your way, it's quite okay to go fishing.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Don. And so you've asked a good first question there of our audience, and that is who'd like to give some examples of good and bad. There's Marlene ready to go, of good and bad approaches, both the male and female. So, and there's another one. So go ahead, ladies. Marlene.
Okay, thank you. Good night, everyone. A very comprehensive presentation done. It was a bit, yeah, it went really deep. And I don't know if I am going to be answering the question that you asked as to the ways in which women or the approach that women can take. But when I heard the presentation, I had a question in my mind, and I think that this is probably the best time to shoot that question. And as I listened to the presentation, which of course I said, was quite a comprehensive one of the questions that came to my mind is, or the thought that came to my mind is, what is your reason for fishing? And I think it's a question that each person who gets to a certain stage where they think that they need a partner should really be asking themselves, why is it that I really think I need a partner? Is it because I think I'm old enough? Is it because it is what is expected of me by parents, by peers, by church people, by society? Is it because I want to have children? Is it because I want to have sex? Is it because I want someone to make me happy or happier? And I'm sure that's not the end of the list of questions that one, would want to really examine when you think about why you really want to go fishing or want to go get a partner. And since I ended with the question of, is it that I want somebody to make me happy or happier? Because a lot of the times, I think when people get into relationship, they think of somebody trying to make to to fill in for them the things that they don't have for themselves. So in other words, you want somebody to make you feel, you want somebody to make you happy. And very often it gives the impression that you're a half of a person going into a relationship to become complete. And no wonder that more than 50% of persons become divorced, because that's not, though it says that the two become one, it's not really not in that sense, but you really should have two whole persons getting into a relationship. So I think before we even start fishing, we should really start working on ourselves to make sure that we are one whole person. We understand ourselves very well. We know what we are about, and that we can be comfortable, that we can be happy, and that we, if we were to be by ourselves, we still be a complete person, and that we can get on with life. And I mean, of course, we can have children by ourselves. All of those things we know. But in terms of the emotional aspect of it, we need to be prepared so that we are not depending on another person to fill in the gap for us. So I just thought I needed to just, ask that question or make that comment at the beginning.
Yeah, very good. I would say very good input there, Marlene, because yes, of course, you do have to ask that question. Why do you really want a partner? Why are you going fishing? That's important. So we started after the question was answered, and I think most people want a partner, but they don't know why either. Sometimes it's just a biological need. You feel you need a partner in life. But yes, very good that we asked that question, and you've kind of given a good answer and response to it. I think it's for each person individually to examine themselves. And I just want to say that while this is we talked about single people, um, we talk about all of this on single people, but sometimes even after you're married, some of this information is useful for us in terms of having our equipment right in the marriage. So thanks for that. Um, I think Ingrid was next.
Yes,
Yes, go ahead, Ingrid.
thank you. So, a little thought here, and then I have a real life experience to share. This thought is, if a man is really showing interest in you and being kind to you, sometimes. But let me share another experience to illustrate what I'm trying to say. When I was pregnant with my first child, I was in an elevator going up to the office where I was working, and I didn't know that this man worked in the same office, and he saw me and was admiring my pregnancy. And the next day I saw him, we found out that we work in the same office. He brought me flowers. No, I'm not the right fish for him because obviously I'm somebody else's partner, but it's just to show you, I was kind to him, and we're friends up to today. We're just, I didn't chase him away and insult him or anything. And, we're friends up to today. Anyway, the next thought, just to say, if someone is kind to you and they're even trying to court you or trying to show interest in you, if somebody brings you flowers, you can pay for the dinner the next time you guys go out on a date, or you can do nice things for them too. As a woman, nothing is wrong with that, I don't think. And so the other experience I really want to share, I heard Don mention you sitting on a bus and somebody gets up to give the standing person a seat. So this is my adopted son. He was traveling from Jamaica, and he took an aircraft to New York, and then he was getting on the train to go to Pennsylvania. While he was on the train, he helped this little old lady, an old white woman. He helped her, and she observed his behavior, and he helped her to do just about everything. He helped her when she was getting off the train, and it so happened they were getting off at the same place. And when this little woman, when she was getting off, she said to him, "Can I get your name and your phone number? I want to let my daughter know about how you helped me, how much of a gentleman you were." And that daughter is now married to him, and they have 4 children. They are now married. It's amazing where it started, on the train, helping this little lady. So that's sometimes a weird way, and I don't think he was fishing. It was probably more she fishing for her daughter. That's just, yes, that's what I have to share.
Actually, Ingrid, he was fishing in one of the best ways, and that is he was being himself.
Yes,
Being,
yes.
being himself. That's in that thing he does naturally. He obviously wasn't going out of his way to win a prize or win a girl or whatever. That's just who he is,
Yes,
helping
yes.
little old ladies. And so,
Yes, and that's
that,
really who he is. That's how he is all the time.
yeah. And I remember a quote, something about give and it'll be given unto you, overflowing, pressed down. And he gave a bit and look what he got. A wife and 4 kids. That's talk about overflowing. I like that. Yes, well done. Well, thank you for those 2 ladies who were sharing. And Marlene, of course, asked the question and answered it. So that was good. And Ingrid had a very lovely live story of, exactly what we're talking about. So, yeah, very good. So here's another question for you all. And that is, can you think of any examples of things not to do or say in trying to convince somebody to be your lady or man? It's an example of things not to do or say. You'd like to have a go at that one? Yes, Ingrid.
I don't know if I should say this, but anyway, I put up my hand already. Maybe I can't escape it. So I was on my first date with I won't bother calling the name. It's my first husband. Okay. Anyway, this man wanted to kiss me on my first date, and I rebelled. I thought it was such a bad thing, an ugly thing. I was mad. I was angry. I I can remember it was Harborview Drive-In where we had a drive-in cinema. We were watching the movie, and he was touching me and wanted to kiss me. And I got up out of the car and go out on the stand. It was so cold. It was cold out there. I was trembling, but I stayed out there. I would not go back in the car. I was very mad. I was like, I don't think on my first date somebody should be wanting to kiss me or to touch me or get that close. I think it was so wrong. And that's a no for me, definitely.
Okay. So the big thing there for him, and that he wasn't, well, can I use a sporting term? He wasn't reading the play very well. You see, that was what was wrong there. Yeah, he wasn't reading the play. You might have been somebody that wasn't too bad a thing, but he went about it the wrong way of finding out. That's for sure. And yes, he certainly found out the hard way that you don't like that stuff. Well done. But that's a very good example. Thank you. Yes, Erica.
Oh yes, love that one, Ingrid. But and in terms of things that I know some women are looking for during that period, I have to make reference to something that happened in my family, not my own, my among my sibling, my original family. One of my sisters had this gentleman coming to court her, and I think that she was observing him for a while and noticing that, well, this man gives nothing at all. So I think she considered him very mean. I know she was concerned about the fact that, well, we were there as children, and he never tried to reach out to us. And then it seemed like she said something to him about being, a little bit more generous and all that. And the man came to us as children. There were the four of us, the last four of us. And he asked us to make a list of everything that we wanted to have. Everything. Now, I found that so ridiculous. I said, this man was not giving us anything. And then all of a sudden, not that we were expecting anything as children, because we weren't aware of what was happening. We just know that there's a visitor to our, sister and all that. And then when he came, and we wrote a few things, okay? And then, he said, no, man, each of you must make your own list and just put on everything that you want. And we did it. And I'm telling you, to this day, I have not seen anything from that list. I saw him a few years ago, and he became a pastor. He became a pastor. When I saw that man, I said to myself, no, I haven't forgiven that man. But he never came back to us as children. And of course, naturally, he and my sister never got married. She kind of got rid of him very fast. But he became a pastor. And, of course, they're admiring him as an Adventist pastor and everything. And I said, that man, I really want to tell him the truth. I really, really, really want to tell him the truth. But because I'm not in the Adventist circle, I don't really get the opportunity to see him. But I'm just saying, males, and it can happen with females too, remember that being kind is important. But don't be ridiculous. Don't be silly, because that is a turnoff. So, I'm just saying, when you're naturally kind, or at least as you have mentioned, you can learn, because some things, so you are a product of your environment, your upbringing and everything. And if you didn't see kindness in your family, then you may not be kind. But at least something should tell you that if you love somebody, then giving must be a part of it. So, that for me is a memorable experience, if I must say that.
Yes, Erica, a very, very big red flag there indeed. And just the opposite character to what Ingrid spoke about earlier, because this fellow, sounds like, wasn't being himself. He was doing something in a pretend way to win the prize, and your sister saw through that one, so might have dodged a bullet there. Yep. And Marlene, yes, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Wayne. Erica, I like that one. It's a very interesting one. I was smiling as you shared that story. But I was thinking that what I got from that experience is that you really should not be telling the person that you meet what is it that you are looking for, because your sister got a good chance of seeing that this was not a very kind person before she even said anything to him. And if he had gone and bought the gifts, probably she may have changed her mind, only to realize that this was really not a kind person after all. So people will often show you who they are when they think you are not really observing them. So I don't think it's good that you meet somebody and then you're going to tell them, this is what I like and this is what I don't like, expecting that they are going to measure up to that. In that early stage of fishing. It's like going to the seaside and saying, I'm looking for parrot today, so I want all the parrots to come. Of course, the parrots might run away, but then you might have some fish pretending to be parrot who will come swimming by. I mean, in real life. So, and I would say one other thing that you should not do in this getting to know you process or dating process when you see the kind of fish that you would like is to not manipulate. There are some persons who are very good at manipulating persons, and I think we all have an idea of what manipulation is. But when you manipulate somebody to do to join you or to become your partner, it really does not help, because in the long run, either or both of you are going to end up being very miserable.
Good. Thank you for sharing that, Marlene. But there's Erica again. So something else to add, Erica?
Yes, Wayne. Listen, just something that came to me, and I don't know if it would be addressed, but I am noticing a trend now. Maybe it's just my own surroundings or what, but I am seeing this shyness on the part of the males. I don't know what is happening, but as I talk to some of these young people, I see that level of shyness. And when I ask, but I said, if I say, but you should be confident because of X, Y, and Z, and the male might say to me, but the girls will say no. So I said, so what? They feel embarrassed. I don't know, Wayne, but I just feel that I just feel that a male, if you have you're not a handicap. You're not handicapped. You have all parts of your body look normal. I'm saying, why is it that males feel that embarrassed? I'm not saying they're not humans, but I always believe that God made them different, and that they should expect a no sometimes. I don't know if I'm wrong, but this telling me that the girls will say no. It's just something that I am yet to understand. So I wish that we had more young people, because they're the ones I'm talking to, and I'm very nervous about what I'm seeing, because I think some bad choices are going to be made because the boys are so afraid of getting a no.
Yes, maybe that, Erica, or what you've described is one of the unfortunate symptoms or side effects of our modern era, where their faces are in their phones or on their computer or on their tablet or wherever, and they haven't got those social skills that we all learnt younger, because we didn't have that stuff. And all we had to do was talk, and we were shown how to do that. And these days, though, wow, even out at a meeting last night, and it happened to be at a restaurant, I noticed several tables with couples sitting across from each other, both on their phone. What were they texting each other? Or he was looking at some stuff and he was looking at some stuff. It's a sad indictment in modern technology, isn't it? So that might be that, and therefore their confidence is lower than what it should be, even though they've got all of the good tackle. They've got all of the right equipment, except what's going on between the ears. So that's just a possible answer to that question. But I've got another question, something for you all to think about and see if you can express some thoughts. And it's to do with what happens when a woman says no. Maybe it doesn't always mean no. And sometimes men are considered weak if they walk away after a no. What are some cues to look for to help a man or a woman know that it's okay to keep going and not to give up, even if there was that initial sort of a no. What are your thoughts? Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, thanks, Wayne. And it's interesting. Erica's question dovetails right into this, and I wanted to first offer another, in addition to what you said, offer another suggestion as to why this has become a bigger issue for men nowadays. Because with the modern society, there is something called harassment, sexual harassment. And men are told you have to know when a woman says no, it means no. And so you don't want to be harassing a woman if she says no, leave me alone. You don't want to keep on at it. And then, especially not in Jamaica so much, but in the more developed countries, you can be brought in for harassment. So men kind of are backing off a little bit more than they used to in our day. So it's become a little more complicated than just that the man is too shy. But I think the real important question in what you just asked is, and perhaps in what Theodore was asking there, is okay, we know that sometimes women say no and they don't really want you to go away. They want you to keep on, but they don't want to be just a pushover. They don't want to just seem too easy, so they give you some kind of negative. And there are things to look for, and it's diverse. It depends, from one woman to another, it changes. And I'd love to hear some of the women telling us some of those things, because I certainly don't know all of them. But I'm one of the things is that you kind of look at the tone that she uses, and you try to judge the tone. And then sometimes, even when you are walking away, she sometimes looks at you to see if you're really walking away. Little things like that you might look for. It's they say that men will never really understand women, and I think that's true to a large extent. But there are little things that we can look for to give us cues, and sometimes you have to just try again, even if she says no. And when we say no, I mean you're trying to get her to want to relate to you, want to be your partner, or whatever it is that you're asking for. And sometimes you just try until you see that she's really serious, and then you walk away, not with your tail between your legs like a beaten dog, but you walk away with your head up like a man who knows, okay, I'm going to go see somebody else, But I'd love to really hear, because this question I know was not for me, it was for the audience. And so I'd love to hear from some of the women. What are some of the things that a man should look for when a woman says no, but doesn't really want you to go? Let's hear from some of the women. Yeah, Marlene is raring to go.
Yes, Don. I know that there's this thing around that a woman's no is usually doesn't really mean no. And I suppose that even among women, there are differences. But when I say no, I really mean no. And I really don't appreciate you trying to get something else out of me other than what I've said. Because, I suppose probably it's maturity, but I don't know if I was ever otherwise. I think if I say no, I really mean no. And so it is probably what I really, something that helped me to raise that point about people manipulating other people, because sometimes you say no and people go through all kind of different ways of manipulating. And in the end, it's really not going to turn out right, because what you really meant in the beginning was really no. And so I think that women need to really understand themselves and know whether or not they want to say no or yes, because there ought not to be any reason to try to confuse another human being, because you don't want to be confused either. So I think that is, there's something else that I was going to say, but it kind of slipped my mind. So let that go.
Thank you, Marlene, very much. And Kerry is there with a hand up. Go ahead, Kerry.
Okay, good night, everyone. Like Marlene, my no is no, and I don't like pushing men. And the pushing man is a turn off. That means you don't respect what I say. But at the same time, there are things that you can use to tell if a woman, because sometimes it's not that she doesn't like you or want you, but maybe the timing is wrong. If she cuts you off, like she doesn't send you messages or she doesn't say hello or anything, she's definitely not interested. Don't push any further there. But if she like reaches out to you and stuff, what she's actually saying, I like you as a person, but not what you want me to be to you. I think that's the thing that confuses men, because the person might like you, but they don't want to be in a relationship with you. So that might become a confusing message. But one of the clear thing, if you are pressing towards this woman and she doesn't return your calls, doesn't return your messages, don't show you any other, try to contact you in any way. If she sees you on the road, she doesn't say hello first. If she's not kind to you, then that's a no. Just don't.
Thank you very much, Kerry. The input that we've had tonight, there's been some very great lessons there. Theodore, for example, chimed in and he said that he couldn't find the hand up button. But you notice that? Notice what happened? That didn't stop him, right? He still went ahead. And, of course, that's to be encouraged. If anybody else has a problem with finding the hand up button, don't let that stop you. We want to hear from you. And so good on you, Theodore. That shows a very, very positive character there. And then the other thing that happened was a reminder of a book that came out a number of years ago called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, talking about the difference between men and women. Now, how was that highlighted? Well, Don said, I wonder if men will ever completely understand women. And we had a thumbs down from a certain young lady over that. And, of course, you think, well, the men are going, why on earth would she do that? And the women are going, yes, that was appropriate. Highlighting those differences between men and women. And, so it's really good to have that input from the audience about these things. And so thank you very much, everybody, for that so far this evening, although we are marching on. We're going to be drawing to a close soon, but certainly not before we've heard from Ingrid, then Erica.
A quick one here. I just think sometimes if the ladies don't show interest and say no, it could be not a real positive no. They just mean wait. I'm not ready to give a clear answer. I'm not ready, because I've had that experience. If they ask certain things too early, I really want to push back. And it might end up being a no if they're too pushy, So the initial no could mean wait.
Okay, Wayne apparently had to slip off to do his thing. So let's take Theodore and then we go back to Erica.
Yeah, all right. So my question is this. So Brother Don, you mentioned earlier that the woman, can, make steps, make proactive steps to, get herself out there and things, let the man know that, she has an interest in him and so on, right? And then Sister Erica raised the concern that, the men nowadays, the younger men nowadays are kind of shy and so on and concerned about whether she say no and so on, right? So we've mainly been talking about no on the woman's side, right? How can a woman now know that the man is not just shy, that he's not making a move, or he just is not interested? How can a woman know?
That's a very good question, Theo, and very relevant because that is a reality too, that sometimes the man is just not interested. And it complicates the situation because generally men don't like to be pushed. You know, men don't like women who come on too strong on them. Men kind of, generally, as far as I know, at least from my era, men are built with the idea that they are the ones who should be the aggressors. They're the ones who should do the pushing, and the women should be genteel and wait for the push, you know. And so if a woman comes on too strong, a man gets turned off and wants to back away. So that complicates it for a woman who is doing the fishing. So that's why my recommendation was, you know, you make it known that you are interested and available without being too strong on it. Whereas a woman may want to see a man who is very strong with it. And sometimes that can lead a woman to say no when she wants him to push harder. And I think that's what Erica's question implied. Erica's question implied that it's that some women, it's possible that a woman might actually say no when she really wants him to push a little more, not be so shy, not be so timid. You know, so while Marlene and Kerry said, well, their no is no and their yes is yes, not everybody is that way. Not all women are that way. And so that complicates it even more for a man because if you deal with one woman and you think, okay, this woman is a person who might say no when she means yes, and then she gets angry at you because you're still pushing. So the next one you go after, you may think that one is like this one you just left. The no means no. So you back away without pushing, and then she's the one who would want. So that complicates it. So the relationships like this are kind of complicated. And it would be really nice if we can identify some ways in which, now Kerry mentioned, and I assume to talk, Erica, I know you're before me, but Kerry mentioned some things, and you should be able to read some signs, you know. And of course, if a woman is totally, or a man for that matter, is just totally not initiating contact at all, and I would say even without relationships, friendships don't go that way. So of course, you know that's a definite no-no. But I know from experience that sometimes a woman just does that. She backs away, but she's looking to see when you come and call again. So it's a complication, and I don't know if I have the answers to that. So I would love to hear more from the women where that is concerned. But let me turn back to Erica now. She was ahead, and then Mark has his hand up. So Erica and then Mark, and it's good to have Wayne back with us. So Wayne, you can take over your lead again.
Okay. I think. Well, I would say this. You see, from if I'm talking about my own self, I don't mind. I don't even want to say pushy, but you know, I want to see that strong interest. And I think that because a lot of women might push away the man and they you know keep saying no because they think that no is the right thing to say. So the man practices to just be subdued, probably, and even some get a little laid back. I don't have to do a whole lot of things. This woman doesn't like me coming on. And then I think that it could actually affect them if they eventually get married. I think it could affect them because they're not accustomed to having this man, you know, coming strong at them. For me, I don't like the laid back attitude. I don't like when you don't see him. I wanted to keep the interest going from the beginning to the end. Nothing in excess is good, but I'm just saying I want to see the man go all out, and that's my style, and I think it works for me. Yeah. So I don't know. I think probably most women like to back, but when you see a good person though, ladies, when you see a good person, and you see the love in the eyes and everything, I think we can respond and allow them to come on strong and you will get that right throughout your relationship. Some of them really practice the back down too much, and then you get unhappy in your relationship.
Very good, Erica. Thank you very much. I couldn't help but think in what you said and what Don also said just before that maybe what would help is some effective communication. For example, in what Ingrid said earlier about her own situation with a fellow on the first date, rather than him doing what he tried to do, he could have said something like, "Oh, we're having such a lovely time here, sitting in the car together watching this film, and I really like you. I'd like to kiss you. Is that okay?" Well, what she said, "No, look, not at the moment." That she wouldn't have had to got out of the car, stood in the cold. She just would have communicated back, and then he would have known exactly where they were at or where she's at in regard to that. And no, did he have to just wait a bit? And so some effective communication. Go ahead, Mark.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night to you.
It's a very, very interesting program. I really appreciate the persons who are sharing. I don't know if this would make sense, but I have a little experience in fishing naturally. And this is my game. One of the things I understand about fishing, I don't know if it can help in the situation tonight, is that when you're fishing, there's three things you have to bear in mind. One is the type of bait that you use to catch a particular type of fish. And so sometimes you're fishing and you're using not that the fish that not hungry, it's just that the fish not interested in the type of bait that you're using. For instance, there's some fish don't like dead bait, they like live bait. And no matter how much you use a dead piece of meat, it doesn't matter how interested they look, they will never bite it because they like grab things that move. And the other thing is timing. There's sometimes you don't catch the fish because you just won't catch them. They're not interested in what you're giving them to eat or your bait. And I think sometimes I remember once I have a young lady that I was kind of interested in, and I tried to treat her like every other young lady. So I approached her with roses and stuff like that. And the first thing she asked me that she wants something we can't eat. Roses can't eat. No, yeah, but a set of ladies now would go head over heel for a bunch of roses, even one stem of rose. But this young lady got 3 nice red roses and she told me that she can't eat. So I guess if we're going to approach a particular person, then we have to know exactly what type of person we're approaching, who we're trying to attract, and what kind of baits. Sorry about the noise, I'm on the road. And the type of bait that we take to attract. So first thing we need to know who we want to attract. And maybe we're trying to attract the wrong persons or going after the wrong fish with the wrong type of bait. Don't know if that makes sense. Eh? Thank you, though.
Perfect sense, Mark. You're right on the mark. Well done. Yes, excellent. Thank you for that. Right bait for the right type of person you're looking for. And so you quickly learned about that young lady, didn't you? And that no more roses for her. It was more out to dinner. She can eat that food. Excellent. Okay, so look, we've had as Mark said, a very interesting program this evening. Thank you to everybody that chimed in. The floor is still open for anybody who has a thought in the next minute or so can come on in, put your hand up. If you can't find the hand up button, just chime in and interrupt me. Happy for that. Yes, there's one right there. Go ahead, Steve.
Yes, good night, everyone.
Good night to you.
Good night to you. The problem with young boys, young men, because boys is not supposed to be in the business of looking a woman for a wife. The problem with young men and relationship, or the problem with young men and shyness, is not only because they are shy. I have a feeling that they are afraid of insults because these young generation, they are not schooled properly in the art of proper social skills. So if you approach a lady and in her perception, you are beneath her, she's going to consider it an insult for you to approach her. And the next thing you know, the whole our friend them know. So that is what is contributing to the shyness. I don't know if anybody ever experienced that. So I think that the best way to approach a woman is to approach her socially. You know, don't try to give the impression that you're she might get the impression in the but just approach her in an innocent way. That's the best way. But some men believe that they should push the romantic button right away. And that can turn off a lot of women and even make the woman insult them. So I think that is a part of the problem.
It's what Don mentioned before, and you've had quite a few thumbs up during what you had to say, Steve. So very well done. Okay.